are with Ken Salem in his studio. He's got some new stuff to show us about his live edge table process.
Good morning. What I wanted to show you guys are where I start with. So this is a big leaf maple board. This board initially was about 10 feet long and about 36 inches wide. There's all this figure in the board, as you can see right here. This board has been dried in a kiln. It's been sanded through some large presses that we use, and you can see the abnormality, which most people would think, if you initially look at this, you'd say, oh man, we got to get rid of this here and we got to get rid of all this here and create that parallel board. Well, that's where we look at things a little different. So this is a square table that someone just ordered, so I just cut it into its form. So this edge that you see right here, where it drops down below the other surface, you're actually going to take the resin and look down into resin. It's going to look like the ocean bottom with a sandbar coming down through here, and all these ripples on the top of it will be like the natural movement of water through sand as it creates ripples.
Oh, that's going to look
As you
great.
can see that. So we'll fill this. These people want this to be a true square, so I'll build a form literally around this. I'll build a floor and then sides, and then make a containment unit which will keep the liquid resin from escaping into the side. So I just wanted to tell a quick story and show you in the end result what happened. So the first time I did one of these, I thought, whoa, this is an ends to a mean, which is, here you have this beautiful board. I got really frustrated finding these boards and not being able to use them.
Yeah.
So I came up with the idea of using resin. So I thought, I built a form around it, and the first time I did it, I poured the resin in, and I went into the other side of my shop. I looked over 5 minutes later, and there was all smoke coming out of this thing. And so the thing, it's if you pour too much resin in at once, it is volatile. It will get hot, it expands, it contracts, it discolors, it cracks, it checks. So as you can, so over here, this is one that just got built out of the show, in which we have the process we just talked about over here, that's been applied to this piece. So what I'm trying to do here, this is the most interesting part about this. You create a form, you pour, there's about 20 layers of resin that have been laid in here. Once I start the process, I cannot leave this. This can go on for 24 hours. It's got to be introduced at the right time. It can't be too early, it can't be too late. It will delaminate if it's too late. If it's too early, it'll become volatile and crack.
So very painstaking process.
It's an interesting process, one that's taken me about 5 years to figure out. So what you have here is, and this is where it's kind of cool, it moves through the side from wood to resin, and on the top from resin to wood. The thing that you're not having going, there's no resin on the top of this wood. It's a seamless joint between the resin and the wood, creating a form. Most people think there's resin on top of this. There's not a drop of resin on the top of. There is
Just
resin
the live
onto the side of this board. So the only common factor between the two is the finish on top of the two, which finishes both the wood and the resin. So
Beautiful.
it's just kind of an interesting dynamic. There's another piece I just wanted to show you. So here is a cut of walnut burl. This is 48 inches wide. As you can see down through this, Gary, you have all kinds of imperfection that has happened as a result of the drying process. Some of those boards that we looked at last week will have the same type of dynamic that occurs to it. But so if you took this initially and looked at it, you'd say, well, this is probably a piece of scrap. We can't use this. It certainly can't be. We got to chunk this off into a piece. Maybe that could be a little side table. Or so what's happened here again is we build a form around this, each one independently built, and there's about 25 layers coming up through this. Again, and there's no resin on the side of this. This one is completely encapsulated in resin. There is no wood showing on the edge of this. but it looks as if there is an ocean dynamic coming out of the shallow to the deep. If you look from this edge here, that
Absolutely.
catches that light.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So that's the goal, that's the look that we're looking for, and we can create these forms, or we can stay away from a form, we can completely encapsulate it or not. So come visit us, we'd love to work with you.
Beautiful. Live edge, it's fantastic. Thanks, Ken.